and welcome back to the season finale race of the first season of the Asian Winter Series. Yesterday we saw some terrific actions with Ye Yifei win 2 races back-to-back, but he is still 12 points behind Reynolds VK for the overall championship. Whether or not he could get his third win this race, or Reynolds VK could claim his overall championship. Let's wait and see. But before the race starts, let's have a quick look of yesterday's highlight. 那么呢，欢迎回到亚洲冬季系列赛最后一回合的比赛现场。在昨天的比赛当中呢，叶一飞拿到了2个冠军。不过呢，在总积分排行榜上，他还有他距离第1名 Reynolds VK 还有12分的差距。今天他是否能拿到第3个冠军？那 Reynolds VK 能否拿到这个赛季的总冠军呢？让我们拭目以待。那么在比赛开始之前，首先让我们来看一看昨天比赛的精彩集锦。
We came into the third event of the Asian season.
After that victory earlier in the fastest lap in race 1, that put him on pole position. Jack Doohan and Reynolds VK battling over position 2. The young Australian having the inside run was able to keep VK out. He was using all of the circuit too. Needed to be very, very careful. A couple of drivers getting a wrap across the knuckles for driver limits. That was Charles Leong battling further back against Tomoki Takahashi, who's one of the drivers penalised for exceeding track limits. There is Reynolds VK sitting comfortably in position 3. There's nothing he could do about Ye Yifei. He just drove away again from the pack. Very, very hard run through for Alessandro Gueretti after his tough opening race. Pushed his way through on Akash Nandi, took away position number 6. Jack Doohan very comfortably in position 2, the 16-year-old doing a great job. And he would take his second runner-up position for the day. Battling with Victor Martins, he ultimately would take the position and move up to 4th in the motorsport operation. There's no denying the winner, 4th win of the year, Ye Yifei. Well worth a celebration. He takes a big advantage from that.
Hi Ye Yifei, great to see you in front of the grid again. Will you approach this race any differently? Like will you think about the overall championship points during this race?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Will you approach this race any different?
No, I think I would try to do like the 2 races yesterday, try to make good start and win the race. That's the best I can do, and the rest we see after the race.
刚刚呢，我问到叶一飞，他对于今天的比赛呢，因为他会不会想到自己的积分情况，还有他会不会就是有什么不一样的表现？那么他说不会的，我还是会坚定我的立场。那么像昨天一样，希望能赢得第3场比赛的胜利。
Well, welcome back to sunny Sepang in Malaysia for the final event of the maiden season of the Asian Winter Series. And as we heard, Ye Yifei, 4 wins so far this season. So too, championship points leader Reynolds VK. Now, the difference between them, as Feline pointed out, is 12 points. So it's going to be very, very tight. There is an equation here. We'll get to that shortly as we come into the final race. But there it is. Reynolds VK, 166 points for High Tech GP. Ye Yifei, 4 wins, 2 yesterday. That brings him to within 12 points. It's a two-horse race. Alessandro Gueretti had a mathematical chance yesterday, but unfortunately for him, contact with VK battling over 3rd position wiped him off the circuit, forced him into retirement, and that was game over. So far as the title's concerned, he needs to make sure he sticks with it and takes 3rd for High Tech. Takahashi for Super License in position number 4, and Pavan Ravishankar in the High Tech GP entry is in position number 5. You can see down the order, David Schumacher and Dan Ticktum this weekend not in the car due to having to be back in Europe for their commitments there pre-season ahead of their championship assault. You can see down the list the other drivers that have competed in the championship through the course of this season. And that is after race 2 or race 8 of the season, race 2 of the 3rd event of this year. There we are on the grid, lining up for what will be an amazing 30-minute race.
Hi Reynolds, you're just behind Ye Yifei. Is there any pressure, or will you approach this race any differently?
Well, it's quite a pressure in this race, the last race of the season and the championship deciding race. But I feel confident. The car felt good, so I only have to be top 3 in points, and then I will be champion. So if I'm just doing my thing, it must work out.
Good luck with the race. Yeah. 那刚刚呢，我问到 Reynolds 呢，他会不会觉得有一些压力？因为他就是在叶一飞的后面。他这场比赛有什么一个不一样的就是准备呢？那他提到呢，他的确会有一些压力，因为叶一飞非常的快。不过呢，在总积分排行榜上，只要他以前3位完赛的话，他就能拿到年度总冠军。所以说，他还是会稳定的发挥，保证最好的表现。
But by virtue of that incident with Alessandro Gueretti and being a little bit further back on the grid after qualifying, he was forced to contend with a third and a second ultimately, despite the fact he finished on the road a little bit further back. Some of the guest drivers, including young Jack Doohan, the Australian who is here for the first time, they are not competing for championship points. So that didn't affect the overall title battle. But Ye Fei, by taking 2 more victories this year, has closed the gap to 12 points. We'll get into a little bit more of an explanation of that shortly, but it's going to make it very, very interesting. A little bit of pressure on Rinus VK, but if he can sit there comfortably, that'll be right. Here we go. Pole position in the second qualifying session yesterday saw Ye Fei take his second pole. This will be his third for the weekend, alongside young Australian Jack Doohan, the Red Bull Junior Team driver, making his debut for High-Tech GP here this weekend. Second row, Rinus VK in the number 21 High-Tech Grand Prix entry, the championship points leader. Victor Martins has done a good job. He made the podium yesterday. Those colours of yellow and black, of course, highlight the fact that he is part of the Renault Sport Academy. Alongside 2, he has got... Christian Lindgaard is part of that operation. Isham Pires, who started off the front row yesterday, unfortunately didn't have the best of runs, came into contact with local driver Akash Nandi in the final corner. Gueretti too involved in contact. It's been fairly furious this weekend because there is a championship points on the line. 3 in the championship hunt coming into this round, or into this final round. It is a round rather than race. It's now down to a 2-horse race between Ye Fei and Rinus VK. Akash Nandi, the local driver, starting back on row 4. He's alongside Pavan Ravishankar. Back to the 5th row. A couple of rookies, Joey Alders for the Black Arts Racing team and Christian Lundgaard, again in the colours of Renault. Right of screen, the Danish driver driving for Pinnacle Motorsport. Great to get down the grid, see the full collection of drivers. And it's good to see a nice field. 16 entries this weekend. Toreko Yamaguchi and Charles Leong back after a little bit of a sabbatical this year. He was a surprise entry. Wasn't originally scheduled to be in the Black Arts Racing car. But another European star came out and was unable to complete more than a brief test. Miki Kiyama and Vivian Kiste further back have been part of the new W Series program, which will campaign identical cars to these. So valuable miles for the 2 of them too, for the Japanese driver, and also, of course, for Hungary's Vivian Kiste. And back to Motoyoshi Yoshida and Tomoki Takahashi, of course, 2 of the BMAX drivers. Well, BMAX driver and a super licensed driver. So there we have the grid. We will get ready for a start. 1 minute until the start of the formation lap. So things will be underway. So far, Ye Fei has had a blinding start and been able to lead down to turn 1 and then drive away from the field. Finished ahead by more than 8.4 seconds in the second race yesterday. So fairly dominant display. No one able to really get to within about 5 or 6 tenths of the French-based Chinese driver. Of course, based in Europe in order to extend his career, and has been quite successful overseas, and we've really enjoyed watching him to continue on.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Let's go indeed, and we are away for the formation lap. The weaving will begin, getting temperature into those Control GT tyres. Of course, every team running the Tardis F3 T318 chassis, and all powered by the Alfa Romeo 4-cylinder turbo 1750cc ATM AR F3R engine. 6-speed paddle shift, 650 kilos, minimum weight with driver. A lot heavier than that right at the moment, with 30 minutes of fuel on board. but they will want to ensure that they have programmed that nicely, that they're not too far above that 650 kilogram limit, minimum limit by the time they get in. Otherwise, there are dire consequences post-race. This is a championship hunt. If we go quickly to the mathematics, this runs an FIA, obviously, championship point score, very similar to Formula One. 25 for the victory, 18 for second, 16, 14, 12. The equation is 12-point advantage to Rinus VeeKay. Now, provided he finishes inside the top 4, that's assuming, of course, that Yayi Fei goes on to his 5th win of this year, he will still be the champion by, well, a couple of points. But if he finishes 5th, he will drop back behind Yayi Fei. By virtue of the fact there'll be 13 more points would go to the Chinese driver, and that would make Yayi Fei the champion. That's why there's a little bit of nerves for Rinus VeeKay back in the field. Talking about Yayi Fei, he just has to win another race. He doesn't have any control over his title rival's result. He has to just press on and make sure he wins. Really, second or third isn't going to help his championship assault, unless, of course, there's some sort of unfortunate mishap for his rival. Nobody wants that to happen, and he can't rely on anything like that. All he can focus on is exactly what he's done. Pitch perfect yesterday, did the same thing in qualifying, is run at the front, stay out of trouble. If there's a safety car intervention, drive away from the safety car, as he did in race 1 yesterday. He had to do that twice, built up a lead twice, and then the final run away from safety car, he was out of trouble, comfortably led into turn 1, and then it was pretty much daylight behind him. In fact, in the end, he crossed the line only by a couple of seconds over Jack Doohan. But the young Australian, on his debut in Asia, part of the Red Bull Junior team, has done a good job. Former karting star, of course, son of 5-time 500cc Grand Prix champion, Australia's own royalty, Michael Doohan, or more commonly known as Mick Doohan to the punters. Yayi Fei, you can see that lovely dark grey and fluoro yellow colours really does stand out. The number 17 entry, who is next up on the grid, is Jack Doohan this weekend for High Tech Grand Prix. Then it is Rinus VeeKay, not too far behind in the number 21 entry for the Dutch driver. And he has been a real star so far this year. And I look forward to what he has to deliver in this race. It could well be a championship for him. He is the 2018, so therefore reigning Pro Mazda champion from the US. You see the US flag on the chin piece of his helmet when being interviewed by Feline. We're getting ready to go. This is it. Championship on the line. 9th of 9 races. It all comes down to this. What can Yayi Fei deliver for Rinus VeeKay, and can the Dutch driver stay out of trouble and get himself to the end? Flags up. We'll get the lights ready to go. Once they're out, we are racing for the final time. The maiden season of the Asian Winter Series. Lights are out. What does Yayi Fei have? What's going on behind? There's been drama further back. Looks like one of the Black Arts team cars has stopped. Now it looks like Doohan's got it in front. So the Australian may have the advantage coming down to turn 1. VeeKay trying to go around the outside. Oh, we have to avoid contact. Yayi Fei has done the only thing he could do is fire back down the inside. Back at third, contact further back, 3 wide into turn 2. That never works here at Sepang International Circuit. They've managed to just about get through cleanly. That's really mixed things up. The pole sitter now back to position number 3. Now with 4 silver high-tech GP cars, it's a little bit hard to determine where they are, but Doohan leads. That looks like it is, well, that is Isham Peres has managed to get up to position number 2 in the second of the Absolute Racing entries. Further back, that is the number 2 that was in the battle earlier, Pavan Ravichanka. Now he's battling further back, the 21 entry. Well, that's Rinus VeeKay. He's really back in the pack. He needs to be very careful. This is not going to help. Now, for Yayi Fei, he has to get back to the front of this field. I'm not so sure that Jack Doohan's going to make things easy for him. But again, even if Jack Doohan wins this race, he's not taking championship points. So that would elevate, well, Peres to position number 1. And that looks like it may be, no, it's the number 1 entry. Of course, that's Alessandro Gueretti. He's looking to make sure he maintains 3rd in this championship. And I think probably behind him would be Rinus VeeKay. I'm getting so excited, I'm mixing all my alphabet letters up. But it's really been very interesting, this opening stanza of this final race. It all went down to turn 1, and that was purely down to the ability to get the car off the line, despite the fact he nailed it in the first two races. Perhaps a little bit of extra pressure. And for Ye Fei, he was unable to extend that run through to the start of this race. He has a little bit more work to do. Absolute Racing are a very, very clever operation. They have been a big part of a number of success stories in the Asian region, and I'm sure that Isham Peiris will be perhaps enticed to maybe move over a little bit of team orders and let his teammate pass, which would give him maximum points. Now, where is the championship points leader? He is back in 7th position. Now, he has a couple of drivers. Victor Martins is one of those. Christian Lundgaard is another. We have had a change of position. Now, that may well have been the Sri Lankan offering a bit of an olive branch to his teammate, give him maximum points and let him go. I don't think you'll see Ye Fei, unless he has an opportunity and has a bit of drama, I don't think you'll see him try and fire it up the inside of the Australian at any point. But the big focal point is Rinus VK back in position number 7 and looking to try and work his way forward. He needs to be back in this championship hunt. He's pretty close right now. Victor Martins and Christian Lundgaard, who separate him from Ye Fei, are not taking championship points. The only one that will take points away from him between the two at the moment his former title rival and the man he had contact with yesterday, and that is teammate Alex Gueretti. So this really is game on. You can see on left of screen, that is the numbers. Jack Doohan, the 17, Isham Peiris in the 15. Well, it's not now. It's Ye Fei in the 16. So we're in numerical order. 17, 16, 15, 11, Victor Martins. 1, Alex Gueretti. 6 is Christian Lundgaard. Contact involving car 1 and car 11 under investigation. Could that see a drive-through issued for one of those two drivers? That, of course, is Victor Martins and Alex Gueretti. So a little bit of argy-bargy early in this race, and that could see a bit of an impact on the way things are going. Jack Doohan, fastest first sector. Ye Fei, fastest second sector. Between them, 0.8 of a second. Well, it's a bit hard to judge because this is the timing monitor. The difference won't change until the end of the lap, but the sector times are still coming up as green or purple. So that's why I can give you part information, but not the full story until we get to the end of the lap. There's not much separating them. It's getting very busy further back. Akash Nandi in the heat of battle. Victor Martins in that black and orange car for Pinnacle Motorsport. He crosses the line in position number 4. So Ye Fei, fastest lap of the race so far, 2:02.22. Jack Doohan at 2:02.39, 17/100ths of a second difference in favour of the Chinese driver that time round. The number 1 entry, that is Alex Gueretti, looking very racy. He was involved yesterday in that contact with VK, which put both of them off the circuit, fighting over position number 3. Now, he came into this round 60 points behind with just 75 on offer. He really had to make a move. It was at this part of the circuit on the exit of turn 4, the two of them side by side, open wheelers. The G-forces pushing them more to the extreme outside of the circuit. They bumped wheels. And that's the High-Tech GP team looking on. They've got a full complement of crew from the UK here watching their 4 cars. And so far, they'd be very happy with the performance of young Jack Doohan on his debut. The number 11, of course, is Victor Martins. The number 1, Alex Gueretti, who has been here all season. Of course, former Southeast Asia champion of F4. And this year, he will progress to the Sauber junior team in Europe. So that is good news for him. So he'll be keen to impress. We spoke about this yesterday. This is off-season very much for the rest of the world, certainly in Europe, which is the heartland of international motorsport. It is pretty much snow-locked, or certainly the conditions for testing and all those sorts of things as F1 begins their testing program ahead of the Australian Grand Prix, the season opener in a few weeks. There's not much opportunity for teams to be testing. So in this part of the world, we are also in winter, but it's a Malaysian winter where the temperature at the start of this race was about 29 degrees, 78% humidity. Very different conditions to the peak of a European winter. So these drivers are getting valuable laps, and certainly some team bosses all over the world. That's a great move further back to the super license entry. And I'll check exactly who he was battling with. There's one of the Pinnacle Motorsport entries. And that may well have been Christian Lundgaard. No, I don't think that was. Anyway, we'll catch up on that. Lundgaard's currently in position number 7. So Rinus VK has just taken him 4 position. There is the 31 of Lundgaard trying to get back
And he may have got it too. It'll be a drag race down through turn 3, but I would hazard a guess on the inside running. In this VK, I mean, it's got to be a little bit nervous about all this hard racing. There's drivers trying to make an impression. We're just talking about that. You've got a couple of entries from the Renault Sports Academy. You've got a future Sauber junior driver. You've got a Red Bull junior team driver. So these are vital laps, and they're racing hard. They're looking to make an impression. And like Jack Doohan, they would like nothing more than to leave this round with an extra tick in the resume box for a sterling performance. 2:02.1 for Jack Doohan. He's 1 second clear of Ye Fei in second position. But remember, full points at this stage will not go to Jack Doohan. He is an invitational driver for this round. Full points will go to Ye Fei. So in the history annals, and certainly in Wikipedia at the close of all of this, this would be win number 5 as things stand right now for Ye Fei. Champiris still in position number 3. Victor Martins is 2.8 seconds back from the tail. This is still this good battle between, that was Victor Martins and Goretti. Half a second in that one. An advantage to the Frenchman. Oh, he's a good dive down the inside. Oh, that's replay, of course. That was a nice move by VK, but he really didn't complete that till he got to turn 3. 3 corners later. The 17 entry of Doohan. Still punching out good laps, but Ye Fei, it's a second. That's probably about right. It's probably stabilised that last lap. We were talking yesterday too about the dirty air with the aero behind this developmental open wheel formula. 9/10 of a second. So fastest first sector last lap round for Jack Doohan. 2:02.28 for him, a 2:02.20 for Ye Fei. Champiris is doing 2:02.6s, 2:02.8s for Victor Martins, 2:02.8s for Goretti, 2:03.3 for VK. So he's he's caught up in traffic last time round, so that's not a reasonable indication perhaps of his overall pace. Perhaps had to take a compromising line into the final corner, so that wouldn't have contributed to an ideal lap time. Christian Lundgaard back in position 7. Ravichanka in position number 8. Akash Nandi is back in position 9. Tomoki Takahashi in position number 10. Charles Leong, of course, he was in that pink entry. It is not a Pinnacle Motorsport car, of course. It is a Black Arts Racing entry. The thing that threw me, of course, is Black Arts' traditional colour scheme of black and red, of which a couple of the cars do carry that livery. But in the case of Charles Leong's car, that is highlighted by pink. Predominantly black livery. He is position 11. Vivian Kiste in position 12. Doroku Yamaguchi position 13. Miki Kiyama in position 14 on her debut in this series. And she is part of the W Series competition, the all-female competition for open wheelers. These cars that will start in Europe this year. So she is in the qualification events for that, still the Japanese driver. Joey Alder's position number 15. He's probably back a lot further than he would have expected. And Motoyoshi Yoshida, second of the Masters entry in the BMAX racing team, is in position number 16, 25 seconds back from the race leader. There he is. That is young Australian Jack Doohan, and noticeably closer Ye Fei that last lap round. Hasn't punched out any seriously quick laps. There's no purple sectors that lap. But there is. That's the fastest lap of the race to Ye Fei last time round. So he's done that just by being quicker. Not his quickest sector times, but quicker across the course of the lap. What can he do, and what does he need to do? Really, at the moment, as things stand in the championship, first in this race we go with Ye Fei, second to Champiris, third to Alex Goretti, and fourth to Rinus VK. That is enough to give the Dutch driver the championship by, well, a solitary point by the look of 11 points by 2 points. No, a solitary point. Came in leading by 12. Need a calculator, not the memory. So Ye Fei doesn't need to risk anything. He will know, and I'm sure the Absolute Racing team, Fabian Fior and the crew, will have told him what he needs to do. Now, this would be an ideal end to his championship. Ultimately classified the winner in 5 of the 9 races if things end the way they are now. Certainly in points, he may not finish that way on the race, but again, he's looking to make an impression. He has a European season ahead of him, and like Doohan, and certainly like the drivers in the Renault Sport Academy, certainly like Rinus VK and a number of the drivers in this field, they are looking to make an impression.
And really, as a Red Bull Junior team entry, just 16 years of age, Jack Doohan has a potential future on his hands. So to beat somebody like that toe-to-toe, certainly to go outright and take the 5th win of the year, I'm sure that would be very, very enticing for Ye Fei. So let's just see how this one plays out. You can see how close he is now. He's in the dirty air. It's not going to be the best position to be in. Doohan can see him there, so he's keeping up the inside to force Ye Fei to go to the outside. Now you can do the crossover here. I'm sure the young Australian, no, he's gone a little bit too deep under brakes. Ye Fei, oh, you've got to be very careful on the exit. Well, that was banging wheels. You've got to be very, very careful doing that. Suspension will take a little bit of that. He's trying to squeeze the Australian across towards the inside wall. There's only so far he can go. Doohan's hanging tough, though, making sure that he's not going to be muscled. Now, what's happened in the braking duel? He's just grabbed a wheel, locked one of those GT tyres, but no, has managed to be able to pull it up. A little bit squirrely coming through turn 2, has held it on the exit. It'll be a drag race down to turn 4. Ye Fei is clearly indicating that he knows what's coming behind him. Doesn't really matter. He's not he's a racing driver. He's not so much focused on the championship right now. He wants that 5th win of the year. And kudos to him. Yellow flag at turn 14. Now, what could that have been? Christian Lundgaard has dropped down the order, so it could well be the number 31 entry is further back down the order. So yellow flag at turn 14. Oh, very wide Ye Fei on the exit. There is the championship points as it stands at the moment. It is updated as we go around. The 16, Ye Fei would be on 169, but at the moment for Rinus VK, he would be on 172, so there'd be 3 points in it. So maybe that's what's on Ye Fei's mind. He knows what's going on behind him, and he's thinking, okay, I want to end this with 5 wins. If I can be runner-up in the championship, okay, but if I take the most dominant number of wins, then that would be the way to go. There is the number 31 entry from Pinnacle Motorsport. That is Christian Lundgaard, the second of the Renault Sport Academy drivers. He is in pit lane. So given that yellow flags are at turn 14, now Yamaguchi 2 is shown, as perhaps not circulating. And he is a lap down, so there could have been contact down that part of the lap. Now, Lundgaard was, I thought, about midfield, going back off memory as we recounted who was where in the order. So whether there was some level of contact, whether he came off on his own, but still says yellow flag at turn 14. So there could well be a car stranded down there, and it may well be the number 28 entry of Toroka Yamaguchi, the BMAX racing team. Now, there is Doohan again to the inside. Ye Fei's playing with him a little bit at the moment. Now, remember, Ye Fei's got some serious miles in one of these cars. For Jack Doohan, this is just his 3rd race in one of the Asian Winter Series entries in this Tata chassis. So he is learning on the fly. And I have to say, so far he hasn't done a bad job. Started this race having qualified 2nd, finished 2nd in the first 2 races and leading the 3rd race of the weekend. That's a pretty stout debut against a team of drivers who have been competing in these cars and even on this circuit during the course of this season. Just under 15 minutes to go, so we're halfway through this race. Jack Doohan leads. Ye Fei, no sense calling the distance because it's not much. Hicham Perez still in position number 3. Victor Martin's position number 4. Alex Goretti, position 5. Rinus VK back in position number 6. 7.8 seconds back from this battle for the lead. But he's not too worried about that at the moment, with neither Martins or Goretti taking points off him in this championship. So he's effectively 4th. Let me just check that. Yes, behind Ye Fei, Hicham Perez and Goretti. They would be the classified finishers in the championship. Akash Nandi, position number 8. So he was 9th earlier, so that's about where Christian Lundgaard was. He's now stabilised in pit lane, unfortunately for the Danish driver. Takahashi in position number 9. Charles Leong, position 10. Vivian Kiste in position number 11. Joey Alders in position 12. Miki Kiyama in position 13. And Yoshida-san in position number 14. What does Ye Fei have this time around? No, not too much. He's going to try the crossover again, but we know that doesn't work so well because he can carry more speed on the exit if you take the wider exit, which is exactly what Jack Doohan has done. Now it's slipstream. What advantage can Ye Fei carry from this? He's on the outside. See, this is an Aussie tactic. You're going to shove me around, old son. I'm going to give you just as good as I get. And he squeezed the Chinese driver across as they got into the turning point for turn one. Just skated his way through, a little bit of oversteer on the exit, so he's got on the power fairly quickly. And these very durable controlled GT tyres that are the category supporters and category suppliers, the GT competition GTR1, a harder compound, so you can give them a little bit of punishment and they will stand tall to that. You haven't seen a lot of drop-off. Now, drop-off is the performance variation between the tyre being brand new to the tyre being to the point where you're just about ready to take it off the car and turn it into a coffee table. That drop-off on this tyre is not particularly significant. It can be on certainly softer compound tyres, but this is very much proven to be the ideal tyre for this developmental category. Now, there's none of the luxuries you'll see in a modern-day GT car for a gentleman driver. This is hard physical work for these drivers. They're a heavy car. They're a hard car to turn. They rely on aero. You need to be very, very fit to hustle one of these cars around at speed. And you have a look at drivers the likes of Doohan and Ye Fei and certainly Goretti and VK, and you can see just how fit and strong these young drivers are. Car 21 must respect track limits at turn number 8. Now, Car 21 is the championship points leader. He needs to be very careful. Turn 8 rather, second of, it's almost like a double right-hander. A lot of runoff on the exit between 7 to 8. And that can get you a wrap across the knuckle from the stewards. You don't want to be doing that. Into the final corner. This will be the conclusion of lap number 9. And Jack Doohan continues on as the race leader. Does Ye Fei have anything to offer the Australian driver, or has he just conceded that, well, I'll expect, or respect rather, the championship as it is at the moment, I'll go for maximum points and just avoid any kind of contact? I'm not so sure. He may be just regrouping. There's just under 12 minutes to go in this race, so still plenty of time. That's about 5 or 6 laps. So he may be just watching, looking at where Doohan is. Where is there an opportunity? You'll often see very, very experienced drivers. They will try to make a passing move without actually intending to make a passing move, just to see what the reaction of the driver in front will be. You'll often hear from experienced competitors that the best place to be in a position like this is in second position, because it gives you a great window as to what the driver ahead of you is doing and where you may have an advantage. Now, you need to be confident you can make a move and make it stick. We often talk about a modern day race car. You sit very low in the cockpit, certainly with things like the halo device, the harness, the head and neck system that keeps drivers safe in the event of a contact. They do limit your ability to use vision. The mirrors are not much bigger than a postage stamp. And you're doing everything, of course, at 200 kilometres an hour plus. So these decisions are all made very, very quickly. And you're focused on what's going on ahead of you. Whilst you're leading, you've also got to be focused on protecting your line and what the driver behind you is doing. The driver in second, they can take the ideal racing line, they can weave, they can move, they can poke the nose up the inside and force you off your game. So very much in control of this race as it stands at the moment is Ye Fei. What he doesn't know, having not seen much of Jack Doohan, because he's not been long out of go-karts, very successful in that in Australia and internationally, he doesn't know where Doohan is capable of making this work. So he's going around the outside. We know that won't work, but if he's got the outside line, see, Doohan's just hustled him across. How much has he lost in all of that? Not too much. But again, Ye Fei's just playing, just having a look. Is Doohan equal to the task? Well, we will soon see that play out. Ye Fei back in the tow, and further back down the order. That is the 81 entry of Tomoki Takahashi, the super licensed driver. And no doubt Rio Fukuda down there, former F1 tester, an open wheel star in his formative years, star at the Macau GP, and very, very successful in developmental formula in Asia and certainly in Japan, his home country. He has been right behind the development of these young stars
with super licence. So we look forward to seeing more of them over the course of the season as we get into the F3 Asia Series this year. But right now, this is the Winter Series. This is the Asian Winter Series battle for the championship. And these two drivers aren't battling for the championship, but the driver in the second of those cars for Absolute Racing, Ye Fei, is looking to take his 5th win of the year and try and move closer to the potential of taking this championship. It's all down to Rinus VK, who's just moved up to position number 5. He's moved past Alex Goretti. That could well have been a decisive... Oh, he's doing everything he can. Has he gone left? Has he gone right? We were just talking about that visibility. He's focusing on where he is, where his turn-in points are, and he's got this ducking and weaving black and fluoro yellow car all over him. He's gone from the left mirror to the right mirror and back again. Where is he? Where do I need to be? And of course, all the time they want to be avoiding contact. They're racing hard, but once you start taking corners off these open wheel cars, you're in all sorts of trouble. You've got aero, you've got suspension, you've got lots of opportunity for that battle to turn into a DNF. There is Isham Peris, the Sri Lankan driver, will be very happy with this result after qualifying for race 1 on the front row alongside his teammate. Oh, this is getting very tight. But I'm very impressed with Jack Doohan. He is not going to be monstered by an experienced driver. What have we got in the drag race now? I don't think it's going to happen. Side by side one more time. They're squeezing each other. They need to give a little bit of racing room. There's very, very little in this. This really comes down to just how much angle they have on the rear wing, perhaps how much angle they have on the front wing. I don't know that there's too much modification there, but this is a breaking duel. Ye Fei needs to stay alongside. No, he's lost it. He's lost that opportunity. He just didn't have the grip on the exit. A little bit of understeer rather, pushed him wide, and that allowed Doohan to get back down the inside. In fact, crossing the line, well, Ye Fei is classified as the leader by 3/1000th of a second. That's how tight it was. Oh, no! 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 That's taken them both out. We've just been talking about that. Isham Peris has taken over the lead of this race. This could be his first win. That's killed it for Ye Fei. Game over. Game over for Jack Doohan, who did absolutely nothing wrong. Really, Ye Fei was doing everything he could to make sure he was in this championship hunt. He was racing hard. That's what we all expect. He didn't want contact, but he was really keen and obviously desperate to get through on Doohan, and that has wiped out two very, very good drivers. And that is game over for the championship. Now for Rinus VK, he just needs to get to the finish. It was straight onto it, race control. Incident involving cars 16 and 17. Let's take a look at the replay. You can see the run up to turn 4 side by side, and it was just the slightest of touches, but you can't do that in an open wheel car. You probably get away with that in a saloon car, potentially a GT3 car, but you're not going to do that ever in an open wheeler and walk away from it in the garage. You're going to be walking away from it on the edge of the circuit. And Ye Fei, a brilliant season. That's game over. Jack Doohan did a brilliant job. Full kudos to him, and disappointment. There was really just racing involved in that one. There was no one to blame. You've got one driver trying to make an impression and defend. You've got another driver trying to put a championship together. And that further back is Charles Leong, who will move up into the top 8 now on his return for the Macanese driver. He's in the B-Max Racing entry. Now, that's I've picked that wrong again, haven't I? Unfortunately, that is car number 13, of course. And that is Motoyoshi Yoshida. And he is a little bit further back down the order in position number 14 for B-Max. They're well supported. 3 cars in this field. So that livery has just thrown me a little bit. I've been too excited about what's happened in the championship. So now, Isham Peris leads this race. Victor Martins on his debut. The Renault Sport Academy driver in position number 2 for Pinnacle Motorsport. Position number 3 is Rinus VK. There he is on screen. Championship points leader. This will be second in points for him. So he has carried on so far with what has been a fairly impressive run. The only glitch in all of this has been the fact that he finished 6th outright in the first race yesterday. And there is the unfortunate side of the number 16 entry of Ye Fei, who's been brilliant all weekend, almost perfect. He started the season with a little bit of drama and well, you'd probably call it a bit of a brain fade. And unfortunately, was forced to retire in race 1. That really put him behind the 8 ball. From there, he was a contender and been on the podium for the conclusion of the season. In fact, races number 7 and 8, the first 2 races of this weekend. There's 3 races each race weekend, 3 30-minute races. He, of course, was the victor, but it ended, sadly, the way it started, with an early shower. So disappointment for Ye Yifei on what had been a stellar weekend. And we look forward to what this young Chinese driver has to offer the international motorsport world. And he was showing that he's up to the task of racing wheel to wheel. That was fantastic up until that final nick, and it didn't take much. There may have been half an inch in it, 10 millimetres perhaps, and that was enough to put both those drivers out. When you're racing that hard, it doesn't take much, and they were very much side by side, lap after lap, and unfortunately that is the upshot of how that one wound up. But you look at the man who is in position number 3, classified second in points in this race, because Victor Martins is an invitational driver, a guest driver, and he has put together the perfect championship. He too has 4 wins, so he dominated the middle part of this season, done everything right, as Rinus VK. Unfortunately, involved in that incident yesterday, and he was sitting comfortably in 3rd. Goretti was, as we say, a mathematical chance of being in the championship race going into the final race of the year, so he really had little else he could do but try and push, and it could have been an each-way bet whether or not it was ever going to come off, but you couldn't blame him for having to try. Unfortunately, that saw contact, and an early retirement for him forced Rinus VK back down the order, and really allowed Ye Yifei to get back into the championship hunt. As we say, started this event 29 points in arrears, came into this race 12 points in arrears. He had it all in front of him, was battling for the lead, and unfortunately lost that lead. Let's not take anything away from Echampyrus. Qualified second behind Ye Yifei in qualifying 1. Didn't have a great start, ultimately eliminated in contact with Akash Nandi in the final corner midway through the first race. He wasn't where he wanted to be, got swamped off the start, and with that title race going on ahead of him, probably rattled him a little bit, put him back into mid-pack. And we know what happens once you get into mid-pack and you're starting to battle for championships. It can be a very ugly place to be. And he had a slight recovery in race 2, crossed the line in position number 5, which was 3rd overall in points for the Asian Winter Series. And here he is, justifiably. One Absolute Racing car has been eliminated. The second one is now leading this race. 1.5 minutes to go. Second in this line is Victor Martins in that orange and black entry for Pinnacle Motorsport. 3rd is championship points leader Rinus VK, immediately behind him, the number 1 entry of reigning Southeast Asia F4 champion Alex Goretti. Pavan Rabishankar makes it 3 of the high-tech GP cars in the top 5. Takahashi for Super License up to position number 6. Akash Nandi for Pinnacle Motorsport, position number 7. Charles Leong for Black Arts Racing, position 8. Joey Alders, position 9. And Miki Kiyama, it's a good result for her. She's just 16 seconds back from the lead. She's, of course, part of the W Series competition, using identical cars. So valuable miles for her in that battle to be part of the W Series field in its inaugural season. So we are on the last lap, sadly, the last lap of what has been an outstanding season for the Asia Winter Series. The off-season for most of the world. Great opportunity for young talent to stay fresh. There is that unfortunate image of the number 16 entry. Now a retirement. Ye Yifei, a 4-time winner, just like Rinus VK. He was in the hunt. He was doing everything right. Contact with Jack Doohan just a couple of laps ago, eliminated 1st and 2nd from this race. That's the way this race will be remembered. And that has opened the door for Echampyrus to go on and take what would be his first win of the year. The only driver outside of Rinus VK and Ye Yifei to win a round. And a good result too for Absolute Racing, based here at Sepang International Circuit. Ingo Mater, of course, and Fabian Fior. Behind that, Fab's very much involved in the development of the young stars in the open wheel part of that business. Very much involved too in the operation of GT racing in this part of the world. And multiple entries across multiple championships this year. But this is the final lap, the final corner of the opening season of the Asian Winter Series, and what a way to conclude it for Echampyrus. Valuable points. The fact is he's taken a win. The Sri Lankan driver, celebrations from Absolute Racing. and a good way to end this opening season. Second across the line for Victor Martens. Rinus VK, congratulations, the Dutch driver. Mazda Pro champion, and also he is the champion of the Asian Winter Series to kick off his 2019 season. Alex Gueretti across the line in position 4. Pavan Ravichanka across the line in position number 5. Tomoki Takahashi, a good result for him to finish in position 6. Akash Nandi, P7. Charles Leong very shortly will be across the line in position number 8. Joey Alders, position 9. And Vivian Kiste, a good result for her to close out the season. She will be classified inside the top 10, having taken Miki Kiyama just before the line. That was close. Only 0.7 of a second as they came to the final corner. Moriyoshi Yoshida, position number 12. Then not classified, Yei Fei, Jack Doohan, Christian Lundgaard, who we saw into pit lane after potentially having had an issue down at turn 14. And Taroko Yamaguchi, he is well further back in the order. And here it is. Ishan Pires celebration, Victor Martens position 2, Rinus VK position number 3, second in the points for the Asian Winter Series, because Victor Martens is an invitational guest driver and he is the new champion in the maiden season. 4 wins for the year, 4-2 to Yei Fei, but when it all came down to it, VK had enough in reserve and he'll be very happy with that. The Hi-Tech GP team again, another championship victory in the Asian region. No big surprise there. They are world leaders when it comes to the development formula of open wheelers. We put a lot of effort into the emergence of this part of the world, and nice to see that. But so too, justifiable reward to Absolute Racing and Ishan Pires, the Sri Lankan driver. A brilliant result. They're sitting comfortably in position 3, but he wasn't too far behind the battle for the lead between Jack Doohan and his teammate Yei Fei. When that all went pear-shaped, he was in the box seat to inherit the lead, and he went on to convert that into victory. Very shortly, we'll take a look back at the highlights of how the final race of what has been an outstanding season concluded, and what a race it was. Very, very exciting from start to finish, and really kudos to Jack Doohan for a brilliant drive, and also to Yei Fei for not just conceding the position, sitting comfortably in second. He showed he was a fighter. He really has laid the foundations for China as a future star in this part of the world. There hasn't been a lot of them over recent seasons. They don't have the depth of culture that America and Europe have, with many, many years of competition to build on and circuits everywhere. Certainly Yei Fei showed great talent as a young driver. The support of teams like Absolute Racing, has gone to Europe, developed a career, and he really has been a standout. We look forward to what he will be doing this year. We believe it is in an FIA Development Championship, quite likely one of the F3 championships in Europe. So we look forward to how that develops. But of course, the 2016 French F4 champion competed in both the French and Italian F4 championships in 16 and 15. Formula Renault 2.0 in 2017. And he's competed in a number of events around the Asian region just to keep his eye in ahead of this season. But let's not take anything away from Ishan Pires. He was right where he needed to be. Gets out around the halo, and justifiable celebration. Congratulations to the Absolute Racing driver. Yep, I would be very happy to end a season out like that. So keep an eye on that young man as we go into the summer season of competition in this part of the world. Ingo Mader, instrumental in Absolute Racing. No doubt Fabian Fior there in the background. Let's take a look back at how round 9, or race 9 rather, of the season played out. Off the start, the pole sitter left a screen. He was too busy worried about what was going on behind him, and that allowed Jack Doohan across into the lead. Then it got really interesting, very messy. This tight 1-2 complex really does mix things up. Brake lockups, people fighting for position, and that opened things up. Now, ultimately, what happened there is Rinus VK dropped back as far as 6th position. He had a lot of work to do, as up front, Yei Fei worked his way back. He dropped back close to 3rd, but ultimately got onto the tail of Jack Doohan, who had taken over the lead of this race. Got very, very interesting further back. The 31
locking a wheel. Christian Lundgaard, he ultimately would be forced to retire early. And this was the great battle at the front of the field. Jack Doohan holding position. Ye Fei doing everything he could to get past the Australian. He tried bluffing him at the final corner a number of times. They banged wheels. There was a little bit of hip and shoulder, and there was plenty of muscling as two young stars of the future asserted their position. They did what they could. They were close, and ultimately, sadly, that ended in tears. And we'll see vision of that very, very shortly. That was the highlight of the race, and here it is, just the minor touch, the smallest of touches. Yeah, wow, Esham Pires actually had a fairly big job to do to avoid Jack Doohan. And there is the man who was battling for the championship, and unfortunately for Red Bull Junior team driver Jack Doohan, that was game over. Up front, Pires inherited the lead, and the Sri Lankan driver went on comfortably to do what he needed to do. Meanwhile, Rinus VK watched all of this unfold ahead of him. He had some trepidation about what he needed to do in this championship. It was tight. It was down to a couple of points. But in the end, comfortable championship victory to the Dutch driver and High-Tech GP. But outright victory to Esham Pires. What a great result.
Hi, Esham, congratulations.
Thank you.
A great
Thank you very
race.
much.
What a lot of dramas this race. And it's also your first win this season. So tell me about your performance.
Well, the qualifying performance this round was pretty good. I struggled a little bit in Q2 with the traffic and stuff, so I couldn't find a good position for myself. And race 1, I didn't have the first lap so good, fell down the order. Race 2 finished P5, so I just worked on my mistakes for the last race and gave it everything I got. Obviously, thanks so much to the team for the brilliant car as well and the support. This is a strong field, and I don't have as much experience as the other guys, so to finish in P1 is obviously feels amazing.
Congratulations. 刚刚呢，我问到一山，他对这场比赛的自己的表现感觉怎么样？他说他在排位赛和第一场和第二场比赛当中呢，都表现得不是很好，那可能拿到了第5位，在第二场比赛当中。但是他很高兴呢，因为他的经验没有其他车手丰富，但是能拿到冠军，他还是非常开心的。
Certainly it would be easy to get lost in that battle that was raging between Rinus VK and Ye Fei, but Esham Pires really did stand tall today. He was there when he needed to be, and as he said, not the experience of some of his title rivals, but he was right there when it counted. So we'll be talking to the new champion very, very soon as we prepare to keep going for competition. But we are with Rinus VK, the 2019 Asian Winter Series champion.
Good job and congratulations.
Thank you.
And you keep calm all the race, right?
Yeah, I had a good start, and in turn 1, I got next to Yifei, and yeah, he got really wide, almost hit me, and then also Pires almost hit me, but got away. Kim fell back to 7th, but after some incidents, I finished 3rd and clinched the championship. So super happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. 那刚刚呢，我问到他他也保持了非常的冷静，在整场比赛当中，他说他非常的开心，拿到了总冠军。虽然在帕起步的时候，在第一个弯，他被叶一飞和这个15号车都发生了一点点碰撞，落到了第7位。但是最后呢，因为前面发生的事故，他最后拿到了第3名，也拿到了这一年度的总冠军，他也非常的开心。
Well, that was interesting. Back to 7th. I didn't realise he'd got that far up. Very hard to see in all that melee into turn 1 and 2. But certainly he was lucky to just hang out on the outside and avoid contact. We saw what happened when contact ensued. That eliminated his title rival, Ye Fei, in the end. But Rinus VK did everything he needed to. He put a championship together. So in Wikipedia, when you look at this in 10 years' time, you won't remember a lot of this, sadly. I'm sure that contact between Jack Doohan and Ye Fei, who no doubt will go on and excel in international motorsport, will come up in certain Google searches, but the champion of this year, the maiden season of the Asian Winter Series, and it's been a tough championship that's seen some real stars. Dan Ticktum, a two-time Macau GP champion, part of this field, not this weekend because of commitments back in Europe, but this did attract a lot of very key top-level drivers with ties already to manufacturers and Formula One teams competing in the championship. This was a vital key, I think, in the development of young rising stars, and certainly to see drivers like Yayifei, Ishan Piras from Sri Lanka, another driver from this region, Charles Leong, Akash Nandi, Takahashi, there's a number of them. They get the opportunity to race against some of the best drivers and some of the best young talents in the world. Makes this championship very, very vital in that stepping stone to a career in international motorsport. So keep an eye on the championship results for the various competitions around the world this year, because a number of the names in this list will appear in those groups. We'll get to the podium very, very shortly, where we will celebrate the results for the winners of race 9 of the season and also the championship victory of Rinus VeeKay. So on rough calculations, 184 points to Rinus VeeKay to become the champion, having taken 18 points. Yayifei will not get any further. So in the end, the advantage was 30 points. It was just 12 coming into the final race. At one stage, it was down to just a couple of points advantage to Rinus VeeKay. But that retirement ultimately for Yayifei meant that it was a win. So for the bulk of this weekend, it has been a different Absolute Racing driver on the top step with a red and yellow flag, of course, that of China. Now it is the Sri Lankan flag for Ishan Piras. Good to see that Rinus VeeKay, and perhaps deservingly as the champion, has made it onto the podium for the final race of this year. So, and a good job for Victor Martins too. Like Jack Doohan, came into this round as a guest driver, getting valuable miles. You can see him in the Renault race suit. He is part of that Renault Sport Academy. Jack Doohan, of course, part of the Red Bull Junior team. Alex Goretti, part of the Sauber Junior team this year. And Ishan Piras has done a very, very nice job. Was in F4 Southeast Asia the last couple of years. He's done a little bit of go-karting too. Represented Asia in the DD2 World Finals. And did a little bit of Formula Renault Asia in 2018 as well. We look forward to his season unfolding. What a year it has been. So we are heading towards a summer season in Asia with the F3 Asia Series. We look forward to that kicking off, but certainly what a great off-season championship the maiden round, or the maiden run rather, of the Asian Winter Series has been. 2 races at Sepang in Malaysia, 1 race at Chang International Circuit at Buram, 9 races for the season, 9 30-minute races too. So that's a very serious number of miles. So good to see your final race winner up there with the champion. Motoyoshi Yoshida for the Masters class. Davide Gobi, the mastermind behind this from Top Speed. Huge fan of driver development. So he'll be happy with the way this season has played out, and to see some good support from teams all over the world and drivers all over the world getting involved in this racing, because he has his own credentials back in Italy with Prema Power Team, a very, very famous team for which a number of very famous drivers have competed. Well, Victor Martins has dropped his trophy. Champagne time for the last time this year. We will go from this presentation of the trophies to the press conference. So make sure you stay with us. Keep up to date with the website and the social media platforms as we celebrate the way the year has gone, and also look to the coming season. Here we have the highlights again of this final race. Just watch this one unfold. A great battle down to turn 1. You heard Rinus VeeKay say he was hung out wide on the run down to turn. There he is, being squeezed. That allowed a number of drivers up the inside. 2 absolute drivers fighting each other. They came out in 2nd and 3rd. VeeKay dropped back as far as position number 7. So he had a lot of work to do. There he is in the 21, working his way forward. First on the number 31 entry of Christian Lundgaard, who unfortunately not long after would have to pit. There he is again in that battle, trying to hang tough and stay in there. The Renault Sport Academy driver was unable to complete the race. Then this great battle at the front of the field between Jack Doohan and Ye Fei. Ye Fei looking to try and take a season-high 5 wins, doing everything he could. At this point, he was in front, but Jack Doohan fought back on the run down to turn 1, took back the lead, and it went on lap after lap. But ultimately, they would only get 11 laps into the books, 4 laps from the conclusion of the race, and it all went pear-shaped right here on the run to turn 4. There wasn't much in it. Certainly, I don't think either driver had sort of moved across the counter. They might have done a little bit of muscling. Certainly, Ishan Pires had to muscle the car to keep it on the circuit to avoid the 2 leaders, but for them, it was game over. Pires, he was comfortably off into the distance in the second of the Absolute Racing entries. Victor Martins had then moved forward into second. And Rinus VK got around his teammate Alex Gueretti to be back on the podium and just consolidate his championship position. In the end, it was 30 points, comfortably clear. But at one stage, that championship advantage was down to as little as just 2 points. What a way to close out a championship. So thank you for joining us across this maiden season of the Asian Winter Series. Make sure you join us during the Summer Series when that gets underway, but don't go away. You will hear from the champion and also from the race winners of Race 9.
First of all, congratulations to all our winners. And I have a question to Ishan. This is your first podium of the season and straight away to the top step. So tell us about your race.
I had a pretty good start. I managed to gain 2 positions at the start itself. And then somehow I managed to gain 1 more into turn 2, and I was running P2 for a bit. Ye Fei was, of course, quicker than me, so he managed to get me after a couple of laps. And then after that, of course, I just did my thing, you know, just hit my markers, my apexes, braking points and everything, and just focus on my own race. And then once the collision happened, it was emergency mode straight away because I couldn't see the cars, and I think I almost had contact with Doohan in the end. And then, yeah, I just avoided the incident, and I was leading the race, and then I just kept calm, once again, do my thing. And yeah, so of course it feels really good to win.
Okay, good job. And about Victor, so first, congratulations on your second place finish. Tell us about your race and your experience of this championship.
At the beginning of the race, I had a big contact in the first corner, so after that the car was not really straight anymore, so it was really tough to pull away from Gueretti. He was really fast and really struggled to keep him behind me. And just after that, I just managed to stay focused on my race and not thinking about the others and just try to going forward. And just at the end, yeah, I managed to not hit Doohan just before the turn 4 because it was really a lot of. It was really hard to see where he was. So no, it's a good start of the season for me, and it's really a great experience for me to come here before to coming back to Europe and do my my season in Formula Renault Euro Cup. So no, it's a good weekend overall for me.
Okay, so is this your plan for the rest of the season?
Sorry?
Back to Europe.
Sorry?
What's your plan for the rest of the season?
Now I have a flight tonight, so I'm coming back to Europe to to just prepare myself for the first race of my season in Formula Renault Euro Cup.
Okay, thank you. And question to Renus. First, congratulations on the championship. And at one point, you were in a position to lose the championship. What was going through your mind? Were you aware that was going on ahead?
Yes, well, I had a good start of the race, and I went in outside in turn 1 and outside of Yifei, and he went in super deep and took a lot of risk, and I could avoid the accident. And afterwards, he lost 2 positions, but I also lost a lot of positions. So I was back in P7, and then I drove back to 5th place. Behind Victor, and then I saw the accident happen. But yeah, I knew that there was that I had to go quick to score some points for the championship. But it all worked, and even if Yifei didn't crash out, I was already gonna be champion in the position where I was in. So yeah, I'm happy with the championship, and I really want to thank High Tech Racing for the support and the car for the whole season.
And what's your plan for the rest of the season?
I fly back tonight to Europe, and then 2 days afterwards already to America, and then I go there for my first race of the India Lights Championship in St. Petersburg, and then hopefully also win that championship.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Yoshida, Mr. Okay, and could you share with us about your race?
まずはじめに今回、この素晴らしいレースに参加させていただきましてありがとうございました。
First of all, thank you very much for everybody. I'm really so happy to join this great race.
今日のレースは、競争相手が早々にリタイアしてしまったので、ラップタイムとの戦いだったんですけれども、100% 自分の力を出せたのかなと思いますし、今日のレースは十分満足しています。ありがとうございました。
So unfortunately, today my rival Yamaguchi was retired at quite early stage of the race. So on the track, master class is only one car. So I'm fighting with my lap time. So I try to put my 100%, So finally, I think I could do. So I'm really happy about today's result. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, any questions? Now let's take a good photo.
Just leave the chairs right here. Sorry. Just stand behind.
Well, what exciting race and what exciting season. This is all for today. Later this year, we still have the Formula 3 Asian Championship and brings you more exciting. So stay with us. 那么现在刚刚呢，我们进行的是本赛季亚洲冬季系列赛最后一回合的比赛。晚些时候的今年呢，我们还会有 F3 亚洲系列赛的比赛。请大家不要走开。